Hello and welcome to Songs for the Struggling Artist, the blogcast. This is episode 470. My name is Emily Rainbow Davis. Hello, welcome. Today's blog was inspired by listening to a podcast, as several have been recently. It's a little circle of podcasts talking about each other, or really, they're not talking about me. I am talking about them. So maybe it's not so much a circle. Anyway, welcome. If you're here for the first time, hello. I'm going to say just one or two other things. Then I'm going to read you the blog, and then I'm going to play you a song that is related. Anything I need to warn you about with this podcast? It's one of the last interviews from WTF, the podcast that Mark Maron did. And this was an interview with Christopher Guest that inspired this blog. I think I might have said it in the piece, but we'll find out in just a minute. Here it is. Artists as planes. It's possible that I should stop listening to interviews with famous people. I have heard hundreds and hundreds of celebrities explain their successes and chart their journeys, and I may have had my fill. All I can think about are those planes with the bullet holes and survivorship bias. Are they actually connected? I don't know, but we'll find out. I started to think about those planes. Do you know what I'm talking about? If not, I'll explain later. While listening to an interview with Christopher Guest on the WTF podcast. Guest's sense of his success is that he was just very lucky. And I do not dispute this assessment of his journey. He was very lucky, and he happened to wander into some optimal situations for luck to strike. But I couldn't help thinking how much more than luck laid the groundwork for his creative life. He talked about how he was inspired by seeing a performance of Not Only But Also, featuring Dudley Moore and Peter Cook, and how it blew his mind and opened the comedy doors for him. His perception is that he was lucky to have seen that show. But he also mentions that his parents brought him to see it, and they were friends with some of those guys, so they spent time at his house later. It's not just luck. It's also privilege. Likewise, he experiences himself as lucky to have been offered a job working the door at the Village Vanguard, where he was deeply influenced by seeing many of the jazz greats at the height of their glory. And again, he was lucky to be there for that. But he was offered that job because the owner was a friend of his folks. It's luck, yes, but also privilege. And he talked about just stumbling into the National Lampoon offices and just lucking into all kinds of gigs that he just happened to be around for. He talks about it as just one enormous, beautiful accident. Incredible luck. He said he never heard no. He never tried for anything that he didn't get. It was just one open door after another. So lucky. But there's pure luck, and there's luck that is rooted in privilege. He wasn't just some random kid who wandered into the Village Vanguard who got himself a job. That would be pure luck. Having your folks' friend ask you if you want a job is a different kind of luck. And I want to be clear, I am a big fan of Guest's work. I'm glad as hell that he was lucky. Having no one say no to him his entire youth means that we get Waiting for Guffman and Spinal Tap and Harlan Pepper, always naming nuts, among many other glorious bits of work. I don't wish anything different for him. But the narrative of how he got there makes me a little crazy. Part of the reason I listen to celebrities on podcasts is because I'm hoping for a little insight that might help me on my own creative journey. I want to hear how others did it in case it can help me do it. But over and over, there's nothing replicable in these stories. Guest was born into British nobility. His father was a baron, and he inherited that title. He grew up in the West Village at its peak. He had privilege and access, and the times were such that you could wander into the offices of a comedy magazine and pick up a gig. Times have changed. They changed right after he walked through the door, and they've changed even more since. This is in the same category as Lorraine Newman talking about getting together with her fellow artists and fucking around. She was in a moment where fucking around could lead to a lifelong career. And I'm sure there were a lot of people who fucked around or hung out in the West Village who didn't end up with extraordinary comedy careers. It's those people I'm thinking about. Those planes. The planes are back. I'll explain. In World War II, when planes came back from battle, at first they'd look at where the bullet holes were and made plans to reinforce those areas until a mathematician said, actually, these are the planes that came back. They are the survivors. And because non-survivors weren't there to analyze, they reinforced the places where the bullet holes weren't on the returning planes. So when it comes to success, the ones we need to think about are the planes that didn't return, as it were. Where were those planes hit? That's what we need to reinforce. And those are the artists I want to know about, the ones that didn't make it back. Because it's clear that Christopher Guest flew his plane all around and never got hit with enemy fire. If he were a plane in World War II, he would have probably been sent to relatively peaceful places and returned unscathed. A lot of other people, planes, didn't have that chance. I want to hear podcast interviews with those people. But most interviews are with people with some level of success. Just by virtue of being someone with enough accomplishments to be interviewed, these folks are the survivors. In order to be worth talking to, the interviewees must have enjoyed a level of success. They are planes that came back. With artists, the planes that didn't survive, that didn't make it back, are the ones that are rarely considered. I know a lot of those planes, and I feel a particular poignancy around the ones that didn't survive. Unfortunately, there are a lot of them. And unlike the actual planes, there's generally not a lot of consideration of them. I feel like I'm one of the planes that made it back to base, but just barely. I'm a survivor, for sure. I have been interviewed even. But I come back with a lot of bullet holes, generally. My plane is not like Christopher Guest's plane, unmarked, unblemished. But I do feel like I've got my armor in the right places. That is, support from the right people. And I can't really see how I got it. I think we'd probably have to study the planes that went down, the artists who fell. And I'm not sure how we do that. But I know one thing, we're not going to get the answers from celebrities. So if you want to learn more about survivorship bias, I'm sure there are a lot of resources. The one that comes to mind for me is from the You Are Not So Smart podcast. He does an episode about survivorship bias that I remember being very good. What I hadn't remembered when I looked it up was that the scientist who worked this out was a mathematician, which is kind of cool. Like, it's not every story that has a mathematician as the hero. So I like that. Yeah. This is one of those concepts that I feel like I heard on a lot of podcasts and read in a lot of different places at a certain point, maybe 10 years ago or something. So I feel like everyone has heard of it, but I recognize that I live in a very podcasty world where this kind of thing travels, rapidly. It's like one of those ideas that just like circles around many, many podcasts. So I don't want to assume everyone knows what the heck I'm talking about, but also it feels like everyone knows what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Anyway, I can't say I particularly recommend that episode. It was not an easy listen and may have changed my listening habits from here on out. We'll see. So what song am I going to give you? Well, I looked at a couple songs about airplanes, and I wasn't entranced by most of them. So I considered quite a few months ago Joni Mitchell's Lesson in Survival. And then I realized, that's what I'm talking about, actually, is that this is a lesson in survival. Like, that's what I want to know. That's what I wish we were getting, were lessons in survival. And the song is not about that in any way, I don't think, but it is the first line of the song, and it is what the song is called. So I learned it, and it was a good time. I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a minute, but meanwhile, I would like to thank you so much for listening. If you like this podcast, please tell someone about it. Like, review, subscribe. If you would like to support this podcast, that would be amazing. Well, you're doing it just by listening, but also if you'd like to support it with money, that would help a lot with the surviving. And the way to do that is patreon.com/Emily R. Davis. There's also Ko-fi. There's PayPal. Or you can do a paid subscription on Substack. And if you have a place you like to support artists that's different from any of those, let me know about it. I will join. But mostly thank you for listening and being here. So, Lesson in Survival is not an easy song, and the chords were not readily available on the internet. So I did find them through something called Chordify, which is, I think it's basically AI. It's not pitched that way, so maybe it isn't, but in any case, it's the website is listening to a song and telling you what the chords are. And it's really not always accurate. It's sometimes the basic idea, but there are a few times where I'm fairly certain something is screwy. So I did my best to accommodate both my ear and what I was reading on the screen. But if you are a fan of this song and you're like, oh, Emily, it is for sure not a G there, apologies to you, because I'm just guessing. I mean, I'm not just guessing. I'm going from what I've been told, and sometimes I think what I've been told is wrong, so I'm going for something else, or sometimes I'll just take a break from the chords. And I'm very free with rhythm in this particular exploration of the song. So apologies to anyone who's very attached to the rhythm of Joni's version. I'm running an experiment here, but I also was like, I can't wait to do this song. Like it's been in the possibility box for a while now. And I was like, I'm getting older and I'm going to lose those top notes, and I better just get it done. Do it now. And I won't say that they are my best soprano moments, but they're there. So It's a lot of preamble for this song, huh? Is there anything else I need to tell you about it? I don't think so. Well, I hope that you can enjoy it anyway, despite all of my caveats and qualifications. I don't always do this. If this is your first time here, I promise you, I don't always give this many qualifications. But, it's when you do like a song of your heroes, you feel a little bit nervous about it, I guess. Anyway, please enjoy Lesson in Survival. Lesson in survival, spinning out on turns that gets you tough. Guru books, the Bible, only a reminder that you're just not good enough. You need to believe in something once I could in our love. Black road, double yellow line, friends and kin, campers in the kitchen. That's fine sometimes, but I know my needs, my sweet tumbleweed. I need more quiet times by a river flowing. You and me, deep kisses and the sun goes down. Maybe it's paranoia, maybe it's sensitivity. Your friends protect you, scrutinize me. I get so damn timid, not at all the spirit that's inside of me. Oh baby, I can't seem to make it with you socially. There's this reef around me. I'm looking way out at the ocean. Love to see that green water in motion. I'm gonna get a boat and we can row it. If you ever get the notion to be needed by me. Fresh salmon frying and the tide rolling in. Went to see a friend tonight, was very late when I walked in. My talking as it rambled revealed suspicious reasoning. The visit seemed to darken him. I came in as bright as a neon light and I burned out right there before him. I told him these things I'm telling you now. Watch them buckle up in his brow. And when you dig down deep, you lose good sleep. And it makes you heavy company. I will always love you. Hands like magnet and I